Alright, hello everybody. I just finished uploading the Go setup to YouTube, but I'm really hoping to start working on a Rust project soon, and I just finished setting up my Rust environment today, probably. So I wanted to go ahead and do a similar video on Rust. And I also noticed in the last video that screen key is way off over here, so I'm first going to move that and then get going with the video. So today, just like in the last video, the first thing we need to do is actually install Rust. So I know that the recommended way to install it in the book is to just download this script and pipe it into SH, but that's quite dangerous. I mean, I really hate curling into SH, and as you can see, even the Arch Wiki warns against doing this. At the very least, you should download it and then view it, but inside the Arch repositories, we can install Rust up. So I'm going this kind of middle way where I'm not like curling to install Rust up from source or whatever they have us do in the script, but I'll install Rust up and then I'll use Rust up to install the rest of the toolchain. So to do that, let me kill screen key for a second. I am going to want icon. But first, pacman-s, Rust up. Don't want you guys seeing my strong complicated password. Now I can screen key again. You can see we got this nice square here. Preferences. So I need to move the region again. So I'll just put it here in the middle, because it's going to be kind of transparent this time. Okay, so I got Rust up installed. So now we can go ahead and do Rust up default. Let's see, Rust up toolchain. Rust up toolchain install. Let's just go with stable. I'm probably not going to be doing anything too adventurous. So as you see, this is going to install a bunch of stuff for us. And let me jump back to Emacs for a second. While we're waiting for that to install, I want to show you guys why I did this, the triple semicolon thing. And the reason for that is I actually left out one of the packages in this kind of trifecta here with Vertigo, Marginalia, and Orderless. Another really useful package in this vein is called Consult. Or consult. I'm not actually sure how you should say it. But what I like to do is use one of the functions in consult to navigate my config file. So I like to use console outline to go through this. And you'll see that Go should be here because it's got this triple thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some file local variables. I'm not sure if I've talked about this yet, but we're going to add a file local variable to the prop line. The first thing we can do is take care of this like /d thing. So I can set lexical binding to true. So if I save that, revert buffer, you see that now it's not complaining at me for using dynamic scoping. I can also add another variable, and I can set the outline regular expression to just this. So now when I run console outline, it only finds the one thing. Now the last thing I like to do is add one more variable, and I like to add eval to this expression, local set key control CI, because I usually bind this to console I menu, but console outline is more useful in this mode. So control CI, close that, not quite, and then we're going to bind that to console outline, as I was saying. And then revert buffer one more time. It's going to warn me about this one, because evaling any expression when you open the file is a bit dangerous, but I'm going to apply it and permanently mark it as safe, because I put it there. So now if we do control CI, you'll see I get this Go thing. Perfect. Alright, is our Rust toolchain set up? Rust C cargo. Alright, we should be set. I think we do need rust analyzer. Is that right? I think this is how you do that. Okay, because we're going to use rust analyzer as our LSP in Rust. Alright, with all that stuff taken care of, let's just go over what I did install in the previous video for Go. And I can also do, that is very blue. I can just narrow to the region again, and you can see we've got all this. So last time, we did install which key, which you just saw pop up when I hit Control X. We also installed lsp-mode, which is how we're going to communicate with our language servers. And then we installed company mode to actually give us our completion that I think you've been seeing here. Use package. Yeah. So that's what's popping up there is company mode. And as you can see here, we also added some hooks to actually enable it in Emacs list mode, which is why we're seeing it now. Finally, we set up flight check. Very easy, just make sure it's installed. And that helps us list problems we find in the buffer. Okay? So, with all that said, yeah, so if you want more information about all these parts, go watch the first 15 minutes of my Emacs from Source Part 4 video, because that's where I cover in the installation of all this stuff. Now we're going to take that as the baseline and just build our other language configurations on top of it. So for this video, as you could probably know, we're going to be doing that for Rust. And so with all of this as a foundation, it's actually very, very easy to set up another language. In this case, we don't want to use Rust mode. So if you do package install, we can see there is a Rust mode, but rustic is supposed to be an improved version of Rust mode. So we're just going to go with that. We do want to... There's one wrong here. Check parameters. Okay. Use package rustic. Sure T. Let's see. We're gonna add a hook. Actually, I don't think I need that hook. For some reason, I had that in my configuration. I added a hook to turn on flight check mode in rustic mode. But when I was in Go mode, flight check turned on by itself. So I think LSP takes care of that for us. I'm gonna leave it out. I do want to bind, like I did in Go mode. I'm going to bind F6 to rustic format buffer. And then we can do a little bit of configuration. So as I mentioned in the previous video, LSP mode comes with some additional packages, I guess, for the specific languages that it supports. So we need to actually require those because they're not loaded by default. So we can require LSP Rust. And then one thing I ran into when I started writing Rust with LSP mode is that I actually want to set LSP Rust analyzer completion add call parenthesis to nil. Because with evil mode, I was running this, it was inserting the parentheses after the function call, but it would put my cursor outside the parentheses. And I also, or maybe it put it inside, but then I would have to like leave evil mode to continue typing. But anyway, for some reason it was very upsetting to me. So anyway, that's all we needed for rustic mode. So now we should be ready to write some Rust. Now, learning from my mistakes in the previous video. Is that not, what's going on? Am I like in the wrong? Not sure. But anyway, learning from my mistakes last time where I forgot to initiate a new Go module, I'm not going to do that this time. Cargo, oh no, is it cargo init? You can see how new I am to Rust. Okay, yes, cargo init, try Rust. Alright, so as we saw in the last video, the Go LSP expects you to have a module in the current file, and I believe that the Rust language server is going to work the same way. So, why don't we go find that? Okay, for some reason I think my terminal is like totally transparent or something. projects, try Rust. We're going to go into the source directory. And yeah, let's import that project root. Alright. So, we may have to tell it to use a different language server. Ooh, there's nothing to install because there's no binaries. Ah, okay. Rust install Rust analyzer. I was pretty sure that I installed it like that earlier, but perhaps not. Quick start. Let's not open the users for it. Rust analyzer. Emacs. So, as it said somewhere, you can use RLS as your language server, but I think Rust analyzer has some additional benefits. Oh, that's right. We can actually install this with Pac-Man. Rust analyzer. That's why I couldn't find it. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, show keys. Okay, great. Now we have it installed. Yeah, restart it. There we go. Cargo. Okay, so I think that actually doesn't matter. I've seen that before, and I think it still works. So let's see if it's working. Let's restart. Alright, let's try this one more time. Okay, it looks like it is working this time. Print. Okay, great, we've got it running. Hello world. Again. And yeah, we can click run. We can compile. Cargo run. I can hit F5 because I made that a global binding in the previous video. What else can we do? So, as you can probably tell, I'm not as well versed in Rust programming. I just started this today, or yesterday, but what's the difference, right? A day or two. And yeah, that's pretty good. So one thing I did complain about in my Go video with regard to this Rust setup is that if I try to import, let's do standard IO, standard in. So you can see that it's completing. And we get this really nice pop-up with how to use it. Let's see, what's the guessing game example? Something like this. Read line. I don't know, something like this. So I get this. Yeah, I don't know. Let's equal string new. What? All right. Mismatch types, expected mutable. Oh. Okay, great. Yes, I am absolutely still learning Rust. Can I get the... Okay, good. I was just trying to get the errors to go away because you see... Yeah, what I was complaining about in the other video is that I can't just hit F6 to format this. Well, it does format it, but it doesn't handle the imports. So in Go, for example, when I type let's see, I think it's os.standardin in Go, and then I hit F6, it will format that and it'll add import os at the top. Obviously, this doesn't add use standard IO for me. Do the same. Okay, but anyway, what you can do in this case is you can actually execute a code action. So I just hit Control-C-A here. Can I do it on this? Replace qualified path. There we go. So if I just want to do this, I can do Control-C A, which we have in our configuration for a code action, and that takes care of it. It's not quite as nice, but it does work, and I'm happy enough with that. So if we do grab the guessing game part, let's see, I just want to grab this code. So the big one I ran into was actually in this part. Let me just grab the whole code. Okay, so yes, what I actually ran into was that when I was typing this directly, what is it, standard, compare, ordering, like that. Standard, ordering. Like that. I mean, obviously I hate this. Like, it's got all of this. Because there's one, what is it, less? Yeah. You can see this is getting pretty slow. I think it's because I have Firefox open, and probably, I think I have a couple of language servers running now, so this is a little much for the VM, but you can see it's still working. And I just hated this, because it auto-completes this instead of directly importing it, but I did realize that you can do the code action, and again, I'm happy enough with that. So, there you go. Minor, very, very minor change to our configuration from the Go video. And you can see that now we have, we're all set up for Rust development now. Again, so if you want to unnarrow, you can do Control-X and widen. And you see we're back to the full thing. And as we saw at the beginning, I did this outline stuff, so I can do Control-CI. And now I can navigate between my Go and my Rust sections. Eventually I'll add some more sections for that as well. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Look out for some Rust development videos coming very soon. Hopefully, some of you guys will find that informative. And as I said in the last video, if you have any other suggestions for languages to cover like this, put them in the comments. I'll definitely do one on Python, but that's pretty much the last language I'm very familiar with. So anything outside of that, I'd have to try to figure out. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.